we are all set and here with you, ready to be with you in your living room or wherever you are, maybe at the beach. Tineke, that would be good, wouldn't it? But let's just go and dive into it straight away, shall we?
Yeah, let's. I just think from this week, talking to quite a number of mamas, that one of the big things that's on their mind currently is going back to work and especially organising care for 2022. And so I've had lots of really interesting conversations, and a lot of them were like, wow, I never thought to think about it like that or to ask that question. And so I thought, well, this might be a really good topic for us to explore a bit further, hey, around what is it that, what are your options when it comes to care, and what is best for your baby in these situations, and what are the things that you need to consider. So, yeah, so I thought we could just dive into that, Jana. I know that you'll be passionate about this topic as well.
Especially when it comes to transitions and a process when you have already chosen the place or the person that you trust in with your precious child. Yes, but let's just start first. What are the options? What can we do? You've raised something really interesting as well while we were connecting today. And you see that there aren't just early learning centers and home-based care. There is also friendship. And there is also possibly sharing that responsibility with a person that you have connected with, even possibly in your coffee group or while you've been on a journey of parenting.
Yeah,
It does
absolutely.
involve a high level of trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is it. I was speaking to mamas about that option. If you've got a trusted, like-minded other mama that is willing to have your baby for 2 days with her baby, and that you
Mm-hmm.
get to work a couple of days each, and especially if you're working with, um, sometimes you're working from home, or you have some of that potential to work from home as well. That can be such a good option, and it can just free you financially, but also mean more time with you and baby. And I know that different people have different needs when it comes to that amount of time as well. The balance as well of your career and your mothering, and for different people that means different things. But yeah, that can be a really good option to explore. And I know that through our parenting classes, hey Jana, we've had a lot of even early childhood mamas who are sitting at home with another baby, sort of going, I could be caring for another
We actually did
baby
quite a
right
few.
now as well. And yeah, so uh, yeah, I mean, obviously it comes down to financial situations as well, but I really think there's been quite a change in people's focus as well around freeing themselves more financially, and what that means, and how you can balance, the partner's careers. And it might be that you both end up working part-time rather than full-time, and what that means for your own life and your well-being as well, hey.
Do you know what's really interesting as well now that you're saying this? While we've been talking to our parents, there were some questions about, does my baby need to socialize? And that is possibly sometimes the reason why parents choose an early learning setting really, really early. But I think what is really important, and from my experience, is to consider, okay, how nurturing is this environment, especially for a very young child? And the smaller and more nurturing it is better for them in the long run as well, because any early learning center can be incredibly noisy. It really can be.
Can be very
So there are many
overstimulating. Yeah.
incredibly. And there are some children, especially infants, babies, who seem to be coping with that really well, and they enjoy being in a big family. But there are some who are very sensitive to that, and that potentially might not be the best start for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that there is, I did read some research around the levels of cortisol that are present in infants in these larger care settings. And even if the baby is seemingly quite happy, not distressed, their cortisol level will be higher. And so it is something to really consider. What are we setting up for the child and, you know, in its nervous system responses? What is it that you know, this is a grounding base here going forward into their childhood and adulthood. So it's really an important consideration. So like you say, those smaller intimate settings and centres is really, I think, more beneficial for your baby. So it might look amazing and fantastic to you, but just think about your baby if they're going to be there 6 to 8 hours a day, what that could mean. And, you know, I'm really interested in ratios as well, obviously, because 1 to 4, and parents go, oh, yeah, 1 to 4 ratio in the under 2's room, that's, you know, and then you just go, okay, think about being with quadruplets by yourself. I mean, it's not quite like that because you have other team members, but you know, the reality is that one teacher, and you know, for 12 babies, maybe in a change in care situation, one may be taking a baby to bed, and the other teacher is left with 10 infants. So this is, you know, this is the reality of that care. So even a 1:3 ratio is actually quite, you know, demanding as well. Hey, Jana, and you work in that situation.
Yeah, I've been very passionate about actually working with younger children, especially, and providing a very nurturing and stimulating. That's an interesting word that just popped up. Stimulating in a sense of relationship growing and bonding. That is where the learning comes from. And the majority of it. It's an interesting one as well, moving into the next year, and there's a strong focus on the well-being and also eliminating any anxiety and the cortisol levels in the children, but also teachers. So I would say what is currently happening as well, they have teachers who are leaving their jobs, not purely because of the situation with vaccination, but there's also teachers who are leaving because they are completely burnt out. And it is a combination of everything. But I think what to look for as well from next year is when you step into a certain environment, look for how are the teachers being taken care of. How big is the environment for them? Are they feeling that their well-being is also protected too at the same time? Because if you talk about the importance of relationships, that your child and you as well, the whole whānau will create what this new teacher, you want that teacher to stay. You also want that teacher to feel refueled as well. So there are many other factors to consider. It's not necessarily the environment. There is much more to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the well-being of everyone is paramount. And like you say, the relationship, and it's really interesting in transition, hey, because quite often it's like, oh, I'm getting my baby used to being here without me, right? But in my head, transition is about relationship building, and it starts with the adults. And the adults are the ones that are going to build the trusting bond that the baby then feels and witnesses, and then can grow their own trusting bond as well. So that it's just so crucial. This is a transition of a family, not a transition of a baby.
No, it's not a financial transition of any sort.
As well. Yeah.
It really is. And Yes, and I think that's another thing to ask when you go to certain places. What is your transition policy? And the longer it is, and the more detailed it is as well, also based on the needs of the family, but also the child, not just the family, but the child as well. That will give you a view into how seriously this place that you are about to trust is taken, is taking in terms of well-being of your child and your family as well. So yes, do consider the transition process. And, you know, if someone tells you, from my own experience and our experiences, if you can allow about 3 weeks, some children will be happy and trusting within the first week. And, you know, it is a good idea to start with a very short hours to build up to it really slowly. But allow a certain window and allow to go past the 3 weeks if there is a need for it. And I think it's really important to be honest with ourselves as well and go, okay, maybe my child will need a little bit longer, so I do need to allow a little bit more flexibility for it. Don't rush. If you rush through it at the beginning, you might be dealing with high levels of anxiety and stress, and your child not being able to settle, then behavioral issues, a lack of connection, health problems later on as well. It is a very important start. It's a very important beginning to the whole process of expanding your family.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's really, it is important to consider the other option of home-based care as well. Now, that this might mean that it is an untrained person who would be looking after your child, but the settings are much more intimate, and they are, like a natural home environment. So that it comes, you know, like we can talk about training and years of, you know, I've got this degree and that degree, but the care and the love and the passion for children comes from the heart, right? So you can have all of the qualifications behind you want, but it just, you know, when a person is completely there with a child and, you know, are passionate about their care and their learning. So there can be some really good options. We know of one, hey Joe, if you're listening. It can be really beautiful connection, and I know for our beautiful wahine Joe that, you know, she does babysitting, you know, in the evenings for these families as well, you know, and they're just they hang out together, and it can be a very special bond. And I had another mother this week speaking of the special bond that she has with her home-based carer as well.
Wonderful. Speaking of this, I might be even able to support some families too and their babies next year.
I would have another baby to do that, Jana. I don't think my body can agree though. Yeah. So what are some of the things that, you know, what are some of the questions that we could say to parents, you know, what could you ask going in that would give you a really good indication? I know that, speaking of children.
A visitor over here who's coming to join us.
Hi, Ellie.
I'll be with you very soon. I will come and see you very soon.
Yeah, so question, what is it that you can sort of ask when you're coming into a centre situation? What is it that you might observe or notice that's going to help you make that decision? You know, centres, a lot of mamas have said, oh, I walked in and I pretty much walked out because I just knew that the environment was not going to be suitable for us. But when it comes to children's social learning, when it comes to children's play, what are the questions that we can ask? What do you think, Jana? What's some that you would ask going in?
Oh, sorry, I'll just have a little kitty cat joining me as well.
You've got everyone joining you. Well,
everyone's joining right now. Okay, some of the questions to ask when you step in. Pay attention to the non-verbal communication that is happening in there. So observe. Don't just speak and ask questions. Really, truly observe and see the interactions of the environment that are really important. The energy of the teachers is quite important as well, because that will be a very important factor, how they're doing.
And their communication, the communication between
and amongst each other, but also with the children. Are the children engaged in play? Is there appropriate environment for that in terms of safety? But when it comes to relationship as well, I would ask about the care moments. What do they mean to them? What about the transition? What does that mean? How many children are in one group? And is there possibly a caregiving system that they have, especially when we're talking about the younger children? Is there a special person to each child or group, a small cohort of children? That would be a really important factor to consider.
And when it comes to the care moment as well, like how do they value the care moments and that connection and that possibility of relationship building and that respect of the child's body as well. So watching how babies are being picked up and how they're being communicated with as well is really important. And when social connection is happening, how is it that the teachers or the carer are facilitating that social connection to happen safely as well? So, you know, there's a lot of need for touching and connection, and what is the protection, but also the allowance of this to happen as well, because it's so important to have that human connection, right, starting from quite early on. And it's beautiful in the picture videos where you actually see babies pretty much sliding over the top of each other and checking each other out, and just, obviously with the protection of the carers nearby, but still allowing that touch to happen.
That's right. That's really important. That warmth and also the rhythm of the day is really important, because that holds the child. But I would ask, is the rhythm or routine something that applies to everyone, or is it specifically designed for certain group of children that are moving and flowing through the day together, especially for the younger children? All the ones do need a special rhythm to go through that holds them. Is there an opportunity for play, free play, as much as coming together? Is there the space of breathing out where they can go and play and engage with children at their own age too? Do they have a space when they do?
Sorry, say that again. Sorry, I was interrupting.
No, that's okay. Please, what was your question?
I was going to say as well that the sort of the open-ended resources as well in that play. So you're looking at things that are going to be able to be quite a large downloading experience, not just a one-off, you know, plastic something that is just, you know, going to be of no sort of learning benefit really. So, you know, are they sort of open-ended exploratory objects and things available, and how much connection to nature as well is available for the children, as well as a really important factor. Our health depends on it. So real grass is, you know, or at least real plants, real things in nature to connect with and touch.
And when you have slightly older children as well, do consider the challenges they can have and risk-taking. Because if we do have children they do need risk-taking of some sorts. If they don't have certain challenges, you will be coming across a lot of behavioral issues. If there just isn't enough of it, they need to move their body within space as well. That's something that came through quite strongly, from the certain environments. I've just lost a thought, Tineke, that I had, which was another part of it.
I'll check and see if it comes back.
I think hours, it is something important to consider, and maybe even just what is the place requiring of you? We do, even working together at homeopathy, we did suggest that a minimum of those 2 days is really important for that bond
Yeah.
and that relationship forming. It's not so your child is there for that amount of time, but it really does help that relationship to develop.
Yes.
And if you do have the choice of lesser hours as well, if you are there full time all 5 days, do consider that. That is really important as well.
If you can
Yeah,
minimize that and get
if
that balance, yeah,
that's
it's
right.
it's
Yeah,
ideally better and better for health.
yeah.
I think it is important to consider that, in a centre situation, you can get a really big hit of contact with viruses, and at the moment, it seems that, with everything having to be that little bit tighter when it comes to managing this, that children with, a little runny nose will be asked to be at home, and you're still paying the fees, but your child needs to be with you at home until this is clear. And so it is an important factor to consider as well, that, you know, uh, you can, the immune system is meant to be challenged and hit at this stage, but it can actually be quite overwhelmingly hit. And what is that going to mean for you in the sense of being able to achieve the work that you'd planned as well? And also, just thinking about how you can minimize that as well, and that, that time with you and the wellness of your child can be a big factor as well in minimizing hours. Yeah.
It is. Do you know what, Tineke? I think it's also worth mentioning and also asking the teachers of the center or the kindergarten, how do they view community well-being? How do they foster that? The festivals, is this something? Yes, it is. Currently, it's a different situation. But how do they view it? Is it important to them? Do they create celebrations together and sharing time together? Or is it just dropping off and leaving? Because that gives you again a good view into what the philosophy behind the whole place is. Is it hard led, or is it led from other, for other reasons and purposes?
Focuses.
Yes, other
Yeah,
reasons and purposes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And that's it. You pick up pretty quickly when you're watching other parents talk to teachers and things what the connection and the relationship is. Hey, so it's observing that, and observing that connection even between the rooms, and how respectfully that happens, and how people's energy is. So the quiet observation can give answers.
And there is also another when I think back to us being together at homeopathy, what we realized was that there was that need to connect with the families before they even started coming in and building that community and relationship. So if you have places that have that,
Oh, you've just
now it's needed so much, and they will offer groups and places where you can connect and be guided and have a sense of well-being and belonging already. That will really truly give you a sign and look into this place. Yeah.
yeah. So, well, hopefully that gives people some ideas to use, and obviously we're more than happy to be contacted, and further if you have any further questions, and want some of our experiences and insights around this. Uh, yeah, and we just, I suppose, have to say we just wish you all the best with finding that balance. It can be very a hugely emotional time for you to pass over care and finding those trusted people. So uh, just also sitting really gently with yourself in that, and really realizing those emotions that will rise, and just expressing those to your partner as well, and being honest about the feelings that you have, and also about being clever as well. You know, there's sometimes there are really clever ways, like the shared care we were talking about, where you can find ways to actually maximize what you're able to do in your work, but also maximize the time of being with your child, so or children. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Good luck with
Okay.
all of that out.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that, and yeah, and we're here to support.
We are here to
Yeah,
support. And you're welcome to contact us as well if you would like us to be involved, possibly with your kindergartens. We would be very happy to offer
yeah.
possibly groups for your families. Ka kite ana.
Nice to speak with you.